On Plus TV News now. Vice President Shettima's visits victims of Kaduna bombing, says anyone culpable will be punished. PDP and NPP, 5 others from coalition of concerned political parties. ECOWAS cuts uphold sanctions against coup hit Niger. UK accuses Russia of years-long cyber espionage campaign. Good evening, I am Destiny Momo. This is News Now. Vice President Kashim Shettima has assured that the federal government is determined to fully probe the error bombing by the Nigerian army that occurred at Tudumbiri village in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. The director promised anyone culpable of the incident will be supported by the federal government. The vice president gave the assurance when he visited the victims of the attack at the Barrow Diko Teaching Hospital in the Kaduna State capital. He also assured that the federal government under President Bola Tinubu is committed towards the total eradication of terrorism and banditry in the northern region and other parts of the country. Shettima was received on arrival in Kaduna State by Governor Uba Sani, who accompanied him to the Barrow Diko Teaching Hospital, where he commiserated with the victims.
The president was deeply touched by what happened. I would like to that the government will take all measures to protect, preserve, and promote the interests of our people. The victims will be taken care of under the canopy of the Polaco initiative. We will commence work by next month, and that community will be the first community to be rebuilt in the northwest sub-region. The government is fully committed towards completely eradicating banditry and armed kidnapping. All measures will be taken to ensure that future occurrences are abated. And most importantly, the government will go to the root of the issue, and if anyone is found culpable will be punished accordingly.
The heart of the president is with the bereaved families. We were at the hospital to sympathize with the victims, and we rest assured that the federal government stands by the community affected and the government and people of Kaduna State on this unfortunate incident. An investigation is being conducted with a view to preventing a occurrence of the incident, and we expect a report to be submitted within the shortest possible time. I want to register our profound gratitude to our religious leaders, to our community leaders who have served a stabilizing process in these trying moments.
Mr. President, also under the leadership of Vice President, His Excellency Kashim Shettima, have also promised to pay compensation to the victims, those that have lost their lives, their families, and those that are in the hospitals. On our part, the Kaduna State government will do everything to ensure that we look after those in the hospitals. We provide medical care for them. We pay for all their bills. And even those that have lost their parents, the orphans there who have children, the Kaduna State government will also look at them.
The Nigerian military has again expressed regrets over the drone attack that killed and injured many people at Tudumbiri village in Kaduna State. Director Defense Media Operations Major General Edward Buba said they had learned from the unfortunate experience and also assured that the Nigerian military would continue to conduct its operations in consistency with international laws and rules of engagement. While dismissing the insinuation that lack of inter-service synergy could have led to the mishap, he said that military operations were being conducted nationwide jointly with the Army, Navy, and Air Force. And meanwhile, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lakwaja, says the Nigerian Army will continue to be responsible and responsive in its engagement with the society. He stressed that such commitment in the ongoing end-of-year exercises and operations have strengthened its objective to combating piracy, oil theft, banditry, kidnapping, terrorism, insurgency, secessionist agitation, and others. He made these known at the closing press briefing exercise, Clean Sweep, declaring Ikeja cantonment free of exploded ordnances. Plus, TV News correspondent has more.
This historical feat has certified Ikeja cantonment safe and free of every unexploded ordnances following one explosion that happened 21 years ago. The closing ceremony, which took place at the officers' mess 9th Brigade Ikeja cantonment, had the Chief of Army Staff, General Taoreed Lakwaja, in attendance, as well as notable members of other security agencies. The Chief of Army Staff was ably represented by the Commander Engineer Corps Major General Philip Eromosele, who said the Nigerian Army would continue to be responsible and responsive in its engagement with the society, amongst other invaluable additions.
As the Clean Sweep witnessed the deployment of some of the most sophisticated explosive ordnance disposal technologies and techniques available today in the market. These include ground-penetrating radar detection systems, drone-propagated chemical clearance of vegetation, as well as remote-controlled explosive ordnance disposal robots. Additionally, the best Nigerian Army personnel in explosive ordnance disposal and ammunition technical experts from Nigerian Army engineers and Nigerian Army Ordnance Corps were employed. The efficient mobilization of these men and equipment resulted in a timely search, recovery, and disposal of 2,055 unexploded ordnance of various calibers from the contaminated sites. The blast epicenter, measuring over 155,000 square meters, is now safe and secure for immediate productive development.
Earlier, Colonel Kazim Abdul Razak, the coordinator of Exercise Clean Sweep, who doubles as the acting director of Explosives Search and Disposal, Nigerian Army Engineers, informed that during the period the coherent operation lasted, not a single motor was deliberately or accidentally detonated at the clearance site.
By working in collaboration with other stakeholders, we have not only ensured the safety of our citizens, but also fostered synergy among various security agencies, very much in line with the Chief of Army Staff command philosophy. In adherence to international best practices as well as quality assurance, the site was double-checked by the Nigerian Police Force Explosive Ordnance Disposal and Chemical, Biological, Radiological, and Nuclear units. They meticulously inspected an area of about 155,000 square meters and certified the site clear, having found any item of USO during the search. I'm happy to therefore announce that the site of the 2002 explosion is now clear of any form of unexploded ordnance and will to be the annual order to the annual process of future development.
I witnessed it during the 3 months program and the coming to inspect.
So I'm also pleased that my area is secure now. So it's secure.
Clear from any hazard, any identified hazard or potential hazard. You know, one of the common characteristics of a no-go area is that some certain hazard has been identified. Of course, the area will now have a clean certificate of safety.
The Chief of Army Staff was presented a certificate by the Commander of the Nigerian Police Explosive Ordnance Department, DSP, and Daily Jude, who represented the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State Command, while declaring Operation Clean Sweep closed. Also, Plus TV Africa and notable media organizations were given awards of excellence for being part of the historical process.
Defense Corps Ahmed Audi on Thursday launched the Safe School Response Team to protect schools from all forms of attacks in the north central region of the country. Audi, while speaking in Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital, at a one-day sensitization workshop for strategic stakeholders in the north central geopolitical zone on activities of the National Safe Schools Response Coordination Center and Safe School Project in Nigeria, said the federal government had domiciled the coordination of the project with the Corps.
It also serves as a coordinating unit when collaborating with all security agencies and other relevant federal and state ministries of education, local government, local authorities as major partners. I want to clear certain doubts and misgivings about the resolution of the center and to emphasize the fact that the center is operating on the principles of all of society approach. To this end, both federal, state, and local government are being engaged as partners in progress.
Taken by this NSCDC in response to the safety, security, and violence-free schools. It is clearly designed and as an action plan for the purpose of achieving these policy objectives. The proactive step taken by the NSCDC to invite this program remains a noble and outstanding one. It clearly signifies the interest of the agency to contribute significantly to the protection of citizens through the Safe School program.
And 32 crime suspects are to be charged to court after investigation by the Benue State Police Command for various criminal offenses in parts of Benue State. Benue State Commissioner of Police CP George Chukwu, in his inaugural briefing in Makadi, Benue State, North Central Nigeria, said the command is currently carrying out operations to secure the state during the festival period as black spots are being raided and operational teams deployed to various LGAs to assist the DPOs.
Yeah, my assumption of office as Commissioner of Police, Benue State Police Command, and I was engaged with some personal activities who did not allow me to sue you. However, the command recently clamped down on some criminal elements as a result of operations carried out by the police in collaboration with other security agencies in the last 2 weeks of my assumption. A total of 25 or thereabout suspects were arrested, 15 arms recovered, 2 kidnapped victims rescued, and the culprits arrested, 2 of the culprits. We also arrested some culprits, making a total of 30 suspects now.
CP Chukwu reminded members of the public that the command was carrying out operations to secure the state during the Yuletide, warned that the ban on bangers or knockout is still in force.
I want to also use this opportunity to remind us that Christmas and New Year celebrations are the youths, that the ban on bangers is still in force. Anybody caught will be prosecuted. We invigorated all our practical teams to make sure that they perform optimally.
River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara says no level of sabotage deliberately staged in some quarters will make him abandon the mandate given him to serve, protect and advance the fortunes of the state. Governor Fubara made the assertion when he declared open the combined quarterly general meeting of River State Council of Traditional Rulers in Port Harcourt, River State capital.
I affirm my earlier statements. I will commit myself to the path of peace, as there is nothing to gain in a state of endless crisis. As traditional rulers, we are embodying the conscience of the states. Therefore, we must have integrity, not to compromise your neutrality and the courage to speak truth to power. Last, we lose your moral authority and legitimacy before.
Governor Fubara said drastic measures will be taken to strengthen education, healthcare and other social services across the state so that no part, including the rural areas, will be left behind.
But we also make reasonable provision for education, for healthcare, and also social services across the state, so that no parts, including the rural areas, will be left behind in our quest to advance human capital development and universal access to affordable and quality education and healthcare in the states.
This council supports this proposal. This council will continue to support our government. The chairman of this council standing here today was part and parcel of the process that led to where we are today, the democracy before us. The best we can do is to allow it out.
In a recent development, the Federal High Court in Abuja has issued a garnishee order freezing a total of 24 bank accounts belonging to the Kano State government. This order was granted in response to a suit filed by the Incorporated Trustees of Masalachi Eid Shop Owners and Traders Association. The association sought compensation for the demolition of their shops, which they deemed illegal and unjust. Justice I.E.A. Ko, presiding over the case, delivered the ruling on November 28, 2023, affirming the attachment of funds totaling 30 billion naira. And the Zamfara state government says it has recovered about 50 operational vehicles allegedly taken away by the immediate past governor of the state, Bello Matawale. Briefing journalists on Thursday in Gusau, Sani Sambo, a spokesperson for Governor Dauda Lawal, said the action followed the judgment by a federal high court in Sokoto last Friday. He said due process was carefully followed to recover the vehicles from the Gusau and Maradun residences of the former governor, who earlier denied having possession of any government property when he was leaving office as governor. While former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, has called for a proper audit of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, noting that this call was what cost him his job at the Apex Bank. Sanusi made this known while delivering his remarks at the Bank Directors Summit held at the Congress Hall of the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja. He insisted that the president should not be the Minister of Petroleum.
that this idea of the president being petroleum minister is not a good idea. The last president was Minister of Petroleum for 8 years. When I was governor of Central Bank, we had a petroleum minister. So when I talked about NNPC, I could attack Dizani. Now nobody can talk about petroleum because 8 years, if you talk, you're attacking the president. We need that buffer. Somebody has to be there. So a minister has to be there who is held accountable by Nigerians. Why is NNPC not able to bring in dollars? I'm sorry, this is the question that cost me my job. I will continue asking this question until NNPC is fixed or until I die. Where are the dollars? We need to shine light on NNPC. The finance minister cannot tell you that today, this is how many barrels of oil that we produce and exported. You can only rely on NNPC telling him. Those barrels are revenue, they belong to finance. We've been talking about this for 10 years. We are no longer paying subsidies, so where are the dollars? Before it was under recovery. Now we don't have under recovery. Where is the money? And by the way, let me advise that this idea of the president being petroleum minister is not a good idea. When I was governor of Central Bank, we had a petroleum minister. So when I talked about NNPC, I could attack Dizani. Now nobody can talk about petroleum because 8 years, if you talk, you're attacking the president. We need that buffer. Somebody has to be there. So a minister has to be there who is held accountable by Nigerians.
A group of 7 opposition political parties have formed a new coalition in a bid to strengthen democracy in the country. The movement, tagged the Coalition of Concerned Political Parties, was formed in Abuja at a meeting attended by leaders of the political parties at the National Secretariat of the Social Democratic Party. The coalition comprised the People's Democratic Party, African Democratic Congress, Social Democratic Party, People's Allied Movement, New Nigeria People's Party, Young Progressives Party, and Zenith Labour Party. And the stakeholders on the creative industry have advised the federal government to recognize the industry's potential in mitigating brain drain. They gave the urge during the screening of a documentary, Brain Drain, by Collins Akpapunam in Lagos. Correspondent Uyime Elijah reports.
The documentary sheds light on the experiences of Nigerian Americans who migrated from the country after completing their higher education. Lucy Newman is the CEO of Africa Private Sector Summit. She advised the government to prioritize private sector investment to combat brain drain in the country.
We have 2 instruments. The first one is the Private Sector Bill of Rights, which says that most of the developed economies, the OECD countries that are taking most of the youth away, have invested in the private sector, and the private sector are thriving. But in Africa, private sector is strangulating, and there's so many kinds of difficulties which the Charter now pulled out, 24 of them, which have already been signed off by the RECs and the AFTA protocols, but not properly implemented. The second instrument is the Africa Education and Trust Fund, such that the educational institutions in Africa should have the curriculum that is convenient and productive, and also giving the skills to the technical and vocational skills for conversion of distance and dignity in labor.
Ngozi Onambala is the chairwoman of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Creative and Entertainment sector. She urged the federal government to prioritize and elevate the creative industry, noting that it has the potentials to become the driving force behind the economy.
With the creatives, I think that it's been called the new soft power, the new oil. And it certainly is, because the future is bright. The future is bright for entertainment. The future is bright for our creatives. And in film, we're all here now. The film industry is bursting. Our music industry is bursting. As a former head of marketing for MTV based in Nigeria, when I first came, there was no video industry. But look at our videos now. We're competing on a world level. We're winning Grammys now. So all we're saying is we need to upscale the industry because it's very informal. And in order for business to invest in our industry, we need to understand the workings of the entertainment industry.
Nigerians abroad might be the biggest unexplored development opportunity of Nigeria. And I think it's up to us, those in the development sector, those in the government, those in private business, to maybe join efforts and find ways how we can build bridges between those opportunities.
In all, the government was also advised to allocate more resources towards education and areas that enhance social mobility, motivate citizens to stay in the country, and positively contribute to their communities.
The Lagos State government has reiterated its commitment to regulate telemedicine to ensure safety of residents and access to quality health care in a digitized health care era. Addressing a telemedicine standards validation meeting with stakeholders and the Health Facilities Monitoring and Accreditation Agency, Commissioner for Health Professor Akin Abayomi raised concerns about regulating remote care. While presenting a comprehensive overview of telemedicine's evolving landscape and its various deployment strategies, the Commissioner emphasized the need for diverse telemedicine methods.
It's important for us to be able to regulate this space and ensure that care is given on a platform that can be monitored and that we can keep track of the impact that it is having to our citizens. Now, one of the things that's happening is because technology doesn't know any boundaries, you can switch on your phone and speak to anybody in any part of the world. Therefore, telemedicine will likely follow in that direction, and indeed it is following in that direction, where you will be having care providers that are not resident in Lagos or Nigeria. This is a problem for us because it's becoming harder for us to regulate that kind of space.
Special Advisor to the Governor Sanwo-Olu on Health, Dr. Kemi Ogunyemi, commended the state's role in pioneering telemedicine. She emphasized the importance of crafting standards sensitive to the unique nuances of the local healthcare ecosystem. Chairman of the Health Facilities Monitoring and Accreditation Agency, Dr. Yemisi Sholanke-Koya, underscored telemedicine's transformative power and its role in ensuring health care access during crisis.
Because of the dynamic shifts and changes and the complexity of this environment, we as a state government have decided to ensure that we can regulate the local space first. That means that we will be focusing on the regulation and governance of telemedicine provision within the state of Lagos. Because we just don't have the capacity, the scope, and the understanding to be able to regulate and govern international consultations at this point in time.
Focus on telemedicine standards underscores our commitment to ensuring that this groundbreaking technology aligns with our local healthcare needs, regulatory frameworks, and most importantly, the expectations of the diverse communities we serve. In Lagos State, where the healthcare system is as diverse as its population, we find ourselves at the confluence of tradition and modernity, where our rich cultural tapestry intersects with the cutting-edge advancements in technology. It is within this context that we must craft telemedicine standards that are not only robust and adaptable, but also sensitive to the unique nuances of our local healthcare ecosystem. Telemedicine standards started in 2021. The agency realized that there were a lot of players in the technology space providing healthcare service, but there was no regulation. And in
The Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun has assured critical stakeholders in gender-based violence that his administration will work towards instituting a gender-based violence trust fund to finance the welfare of victims. He met the promise in Abeokuta, the state capital, when he received his wife, Bamidele Abiodun, and other women advocates who were on a road show as part of activities for the 16th day activism against gender-based violence in the state.
With respect to all that we need to ensure that we sustain this advocacy against gender violence and all manner of sexual assault against persons, I also want to bring to the fact that violence against persons is not violence against women. Men also are being abused. But oftentimes, nobody talks about that. I want to be an advocate for women. But having said that, the good thing that you said are not I want us to ensure that we have a defensive shield and we made a case for that. And we emphasize the fact that the people that abuse in the house or not go back home. There are those that don't have any ways to go back to. There's a lot of stigma just associated with when these violence cases occur. I believe that we had identified somewhere previously, but I've been told that it may not be defeated. So by this, I'm now instructing the Secretary Government to work with the Ministry of Housing to identify other in the building. If we can't find them, we identify the cost of them and we will construct a defeat.
The Honorable Commissioner for Economy Planning in Delta State, Mr. Sunday Ekedayen, has said the training could not have come at a better time, given the reoccurring global discourse on the need to take gender-based violence and issues more seriously. As our correspondent at Pomajero Friday reported, that Honorable Sunday Ekedayen commended the Federal Cares Support Unit for this initiative.
This, so that our society and community will come to that consciousness that indeed there is a section of us here who are suffering untold hardship and embarrassment, both psychological and physical, that we need to bring to the fore with a view to helping them address. It is like a composite problem. It comes with a lot of issues, psychology, bodily injuries, and a lot of trauma. So it's going to be multi-pronged approach. So this training is one of it, so that we have enough hands-on people with experience to manage and intervene in such a.
We held a TOT at Ibadan, and this is a step-down training, but also TOT, because these people are expected to go and step it down again in their domain. These are still selected people from the program relevant officer, but there are still many of them at the state level in their DPs where they are working, who are very relevant to this GBV issue. There's a clarion call for addressing the issues of gender-based violence, and there is need to be able to make people realize that when we are able to address the issue of gender violence, then it will also be addressing the issues of restiveness, the issues of a lot of troubles that that most vulnerable persons face, and so we mitigate this problem of wife battery, girl harassment, and so on and so forth.
The Delta State government has launched the State Green Project to promote environmental cleanliness and health. The initiative involved dignitaries and government functionaries clearing dirt along major roads and streets as part of a sensitization drive. The project also aims to make the state a business-friendly environment, encouraging local and foreign investment.
We should properly dispose our refuse. Refuse should not be dumped on median or on the highway. This amounts to removing waste from your home only for you to dump them along the road. This should not happen. Our surroundings should be kept neat at all times, devoid of refuse and overgrown weeds. All agencies of government should take the issue of clean environment serious. There should be synergy between agencies of government and effective collaboration with all Delta for our environment to be kept clean and neat. The benefit of having a clean environment, apart from what I've listed earlier, is enormous. It makes our state conducive for business and encourages investors to come to our state. Flag off.
The state green strategy aimed at promoting a clean and healthy environment in Asaba and its surrounding areas was highlighted during a road show attended by the Director General of the State Capital Territory Development Agency.
At the end of this campaign, we are going to start enforcement, and we don't want to enforce when we have not created an awareness. So we have been on radio, we are going to be on TV, we are going to send out our people physically to go to houses and offices. At the end, we'll do enforcement. We are going to move with mobile court, but I don't like using that type of force. That is why I want to move around with everybody. As I'm going on the street, I'm talking to people, we are giving flyers. So if we can do all this and you still violate it, you don't need to blame us. And I appeal, my friends, my brothers, anybody, I don't care whom it is, because I clean my house. So if you don't do it and you want to make the capital territory dirty, I'm sorry to say I probably will offend you, and we definitely will offend them. You can see the collaboration we have with the local government, what we have with the Waste Management Board and the Ministry of Environment. It's a team, and we are employing the Environmental Task Force law. We are not going to spare anybody. It's to make the people understand the goals and the campaign of the agency, the plans, and that is why we are here to make our people understand that even the Bible says that cleanliness is next to godliness. That is to say, we need our environment to be very clean. We need our state to be very clean, and that is why they have made us ambassadors today to be able to talk to the...
A non-political, non-governmental organization, Cedar Seed Foundation, in collaboration with several organizations of persons with disabilities, are advocating inclusiveness and sustainable development initiative for persons with disabilities in every sphere of life and the society, including in the area of governance. And this call was made in Abuja as part of the annual observance to elevate awareness of the plight of persons with disabilities and by taking the advocacy to places of religious worship such as mosques, churches, press conferences, award and fundraising dinners, as well as National Disabilities Dialogue and lunch.
In Nigeria, recent data underscores that over 27 million Nigerians live with some form of disability as of 2020, underscoring the pressing need to comprehensively address the myriad challenges faced by persons with disabilities. On this International Day of Persons with Disabilities, the Cedar Seed Foundation passionately recommends that there is an urgent need for the mobilization of support for critical issues related to the inclusion of persons with disabilities. Public and private actors work to immediately implement the provisions of the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act 2018. All stakeholders promote intervention that will drive massive community-based awareness on disability inclusion. All service providers incorporate the principles of disability inclusive service delivery into their day-to-day operations.
Still ahead, Seychelles declares a state of emergency after explosion and floods. Details when we return. Stay with us.
wait for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
And I'm moving on to other parts of Africa. West Africa's top court on Thursday, December 7, rejected a request by Niger's junta for a lifting of coup-related sanctions imposed by its neighbors, ruling that the junta is unconstitutional and therefore lacks the authority to make such a request. Following the July coup that toppled Niger's president Mohamed Bazoum, the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, imposed sanctions including shutting borders with the member country, suspending financial transactions, and freezing Niger's assets. Neighboring Nigeria cut off power that supplied 70% of Niger's electricity. And the Seychelles Archipelago declared a state of emergency on Thursday and invited its residents to stay at home after an explosion in an explosives warehouse and flooding, according to a press release from the presidency. The explosion took place in the Providence Industrial Zone on Mahé and caused enormous damage on site and in the surrounding area, adding the presidency without further details. Mahé is the largest island in Archipelago, where 87% of the population of 98,000 lives. And Somali National Army, backed by local forces, on Thursday killed 33 Al-Shabaab militants and injured several others in a special operation near Harar town in central Somalia, officials said. And Deputy Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism, Abdurrahman Yusuf Al-Adala, said that the forces targeted a primary base of the militant group, resulting in casualties, destroyed Al-Shabaab command center and seized weapons cache. The government's campaign to regain control of the country comes after the UN Security Council last week lifted a 31-year arms embargo on Somalia. From news outside Africa, the British government has summoned the Russian ambassador and sanctioned 2 people for what it said was a sustained but failed attempt to interfere in politics by Russian cyber spies. A hacking group dubbed Cold River by cybersecurity researchers working on behalf of Russia's Federal Security Service targeted British politicians, journalists, and non-profit groups over a period of several years, the Foreign Office said. Moscow said there was no evidence for Britain's allegations of the digital spying campaign, Russian agencies reported later on Thursday. And Russian lawmakers on Thursday set the date of the country's 2024 presidential election for March 17, moving Vladimir Putin a step closer to a 5th term in office. Members of the Federation Council, Russia's upper house of parliament, voted unanimously to approve a decree setting the date. Putin, 71, hasn't yet announced his intention to run again, but is widely expected to do so in the coming days, now that the date has been set. On the constitutional reforms he orchestrated, he is eligible to seek 2 more 6-year terms after his current one expires next year, potentially allowing him to remain in power until 2036. Up next, Nigerian Customs adjusts exchange rate for cargo clearance by 22.8% to 952 naira per dollar. That's on Business News after the short break. Stay with us. And in business news, the Nigerian Customs Service has adjusted the exchange rate for cargo clearance from 783 naira per dollar to 952 naira per dollar, representing a 22.8% increase. The federal government's single window trade portal of the Customs Service revealed that the per exchange rate of 783.17 naira to the USD has been reviewed upward to 951.94 naira. The Nigerian Customs Service imposes duties before imported cargoes are cleared from the ports, and these fees range from 5% to 35% as determined by the Harmonized Commodity and Coding System, which is a HS code. The Customs Service generates revenues from these fees and other tariffs accruing to it. In the first 6 months of this year, the service reported an average collection of 202 billion naira monthly from these tariffs and levies. And the Nigerian content level in 2023 stood at 54%, and although oil and gas industry stakeholders believe the board achieved a milestone this year, the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Engineer Simbi Wabota, has worried that not much was achieved in the area of local content enforcement. Simbi spoke alongside key players in the oil and gas industry at the 12th edition of the Practical Nigerian Content Forum, PNC, with the theme Deepening Nigerian Content Amidst Divestment, Domestication and Decarbonization. Our correspondent Jesse Everly has details in this report.
The 12th Practical Nigerian Content Forum in session. The Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB, and stakeholders of the oil and gas industry are here to assess the achievements made so far in the 10-year strategic roadmap of the board launched in 2017 to have at least 70% Nigerian content by the end of 2027. Executive Secretary Engineer Simbi Wabota is giving his keynote address, and although significant gains have been made in many areas, is particularly worried that the level of local content enforcement in 2023 was not different from the previous year.
We have completed 83% of the 96 initiatives under the strategic roadmap, with focus now shifting to the remaining initiatives that requires some heavy lifting to bring into fruition. Our in-country fabrication capacity moved from 60,000 tons per year to 250,000 tons per year. At the 2023 Nigerian content level in the Nigerian oil and gas industry is 54%, based on our monitoring and evaluation of industry activities. This percentage is similar to the 54 Nigerian content level achieved last year. Once again, this performance is well above the minimum target of 47% Nigerian content set for 2023.
Stakeholders are pleased with the progress made so far and are looking for more partnership and new opportunities in the industry.
The Content Development and Monitoring Board has made significant progress in advancing the participation of Nigerians in the oil and gas sector. Their efforts in promoting technology transfer and capacity building have been commendable, and we must build upon these achievements. We are committed to supporting initiatives that promote local content.
To say how well we as a country are doing, not only regulation, but aiding the participation of our indigenous entities in the oil and gas space.
The Nigerian Content Development Board to see how we can improve on evidence, procurement in our business, making fast decisions, enabling companies that can have better capacity to do this that we're all speaking, so that ultimately when we bring that growth that this was to be required, we can be benefit of the opportunities that are there.
The Decade of Gas initiative means exciting times are on the horizon for the industry, bringing with it immense opportunities for growth.
The exhibition of oil and gas industry equipment manufactured in-country is part of the 3-day event. Jesse Everly, Plus TV News.
And up next is entertainment news. Stay with us. Don't worry, okay? Should be not collect money for SC hand. I make you all finish.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
After a decade of consistently releasing chart-topping singles, Davido released his highly anticipated fourth album, Timeless, which went on to break multiple records. In another landmark feat, Davido's Timeless made the Billboard staff list for the top 50 albums of 2023. The record-breaking album was ranked 39th and was described as a landmark album in the global explosion of Afrobeats. Notably, Timeless is the only African album on the list that contains critically acclaimed and highly successful albums from around the world. Ranked number 1 on the list is Olivia Rodrigo's album Guts, which is in contention for the album of the year at the 2024 Grammys. Similarly, Unavailable featuring Musa Keys and Phil, which are two of the foremost hit record on the album, were nominated for Best African Music Performance and Best Global Music Performance respectively. British rapper Stormzy and Maya Jama have finally gone Instagram official 7 months after rekindling their romance. The TV presenter and the rapper looked lovely in a snap Maya shared on her social media as she posted about hosting the British Fashion Awards on Monday. The pair reconciled back in the summer of this year after splitting in 2019 and were then seen on the romantic Greek holiday in August. Maya confirmed her relationship with Stormzy was back on in August as they were seen strolling hand in hand during a holiday in Greece. The couple dated for 4 years before parting ways in 2019, with the rapper publicly declaring he has never loved anyone how I have loved her. A fourth woman has publicly accused music mogul Sean Diddy Combs for sexual assault, alleging he and others gang raped her when she was 17.
Marked the global 16 days of activism against gender-based violence with a novelty march. The ceremonial march, which took place at the Campus Square in Lagos, is to raise awareness and call on governments, organizations, and other people everywhere to speak out against violence in all its forms. According to the National Coordinator 100 Women Lobby Group, Felicia Onibon, the campaign is aimed to raise awareness of the negative impact that violence and abuse have on women and children, and to rid society of abuse permanently. And the main news again. Vice President Shettima, who's visited victims of Kaduna bombing, says anyone culpable will be punished. PDP and NPP, 5 others, have formed coalition of concerned political parties. ECOWAS Court upholds sanctions against coup hit Niger. And that's the news now. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. You can also view us from Limex on limex.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I am Destiny Mama. Many thanks for watching.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Hello from Berlin, Germany. Nigeria is currently going through a recession. But what is the actual state of our economy? Is this as a result of the pandemic? Or there's more? Should religious organizations in the country be made to pay taxes? These are the conversations and the answers that you get to hear when you listen to these debaters.
Hello, I welcome you to today's episode of Matasada Imani. We're going to be talking about religion, youth, and money as it concerns the Nigerian people. My name is Mercy Aband. Nigeria has the 5th largest Christian population and the 6th largest Muslim population in the world. Pretty impressive figures. So what are the economic aspects of this fact? Let's talk about this in today's episode. I am not physically present with the guests at the studio because I was in close proximity with someone who tested positive to COVID. Even though I tested negative, I had to stay away for the safety of everyone in the studio. But I'd like to introduce our guest. I'll start with Timothy Imogere, who is a proud Nigerian student living in Germany. Hello, Timothy, welcome.
Hi, Messi. Thank you for having me here.
My next guest is Kumbi Oshinoiki. She runs a business in Germany. Hello, Kumbi, welcome.
Hello, nice to see you.
And Ada Anene is involved with data management, also living in Berlin. Hello, Ada, pleased to see you again.
Hello, Messi. Nice to meet you.
And we have Ebuka Valentine Okeke. He's a Nigerian student in Potsdam, also living in Germany. Hello, Ebuka.
Hello, Messi. Nice to meet you.
And finally, and not, as part of the guest in the studio, Tolulope Adefunke Omadara, another Nigerian student. Welcome.
Hi, Messi. Thanks for having me here.
Pleasure is mine. We have two callings from Nigeria, and our guest is Ose Anene. Mr. Ose Anene is a businessman, is a hotelier as well, and is a politician. Hello, Ndi Kato. Ndi is an active member of civil society in Nigeria, and she's a frontline activist in the country. I would like to talk with you about a very impressive, or actually I'd say important factor in Nigeria's reality, and that is religion and money. There is a lot that can be said or that has been said about this topic, but let's start somewhere. Nigeria is going through a historical recession at the moment. Poverty rates are on the rise. Should and could religious institutions contribute more to the economic relief of Nigerians? And this question I would like Kumbi to respond to. I would like to start with Kumbi.
Okay, I'm aware that there are lots of churches and mosques who have all sorts of programs that are aimed not just at providing relief to people in the communities, but also look to empower them through skills acquisition programs, trainings, and that kind of thing. So I think as part of their social mandate, a lot of religious bodies of all persuasions do this. Whether it's going to be enough to have enough impact on society in general, on the economy, is debatable. And also not all religious organizations are necessarily big enough to be able to provide the manpower needed to run a very comprehensive program that's going to make impact in their communities. But I do know that a lot of the big well-known churches and mosques do also a range of programs. Yes.
Thank you, Kumbi. Ada, from what Kumbi has said, we should not be seen to outsource the role of the state to religious institutions. Do you disagree?
I think that there should be a balance. I think the money of the people goes to both the government and the religious institutions. And the way that the religious institution can, put back into society more like a corporate, social responsibility, is to, create initiatives to help the people that they take care of. So I think it's not a bad idea. Like she said, there are actually churches that have these initiatives already running, like the mobile clinic run by some churches that I know. And so I think it's good that the church institution or the religious institution have these initiatives running, in support of the government.
Thank you so much, Ada. Ebuka,
yeah.
Do you agree, or would you subscribe to religious organizations, especially the ones that, we've seen, not just the church now and the mosque, to pay tax to the state for development?
I beg to disagree with such assumption, because as far as I'm concerned, is a kind of suggestion that is geared towards probably helping Nigeria escape the nets of recession. But the truth remains that churches originally are agents of socialization, and as far as I'm concerned, they should continue to play that role as agent of socialization. Their participation into economic activity of any kind should be a kind of mandatory, should be optional and not mandatory. Taxes should not be imposed on churches, because doing that have a lot to do in the area of churches carrying out their social responsibility of educating the people, inculcating the required national values in the people. Now, imposing taxes on them, I don't think it will have much to do with, or can in any way have a serious contribution to saving Nigeria from economic recession. So churches or religion should be detached totally from the economic mess that we find ourselves in.
Thank you, Ebuka. Tolu, I would like to ask you this. In the UK and other countries of the world, churches are known, these same churches that are in Nigeria are known to pay taxes, but when they get to Nigeria, they do not pay tax. And there's a conversation right now, and there's lobbying before the National Assembly, where people are saying, if these churches are making billions and millions of dollars, why should the state not take part in that? What would you say?
I think religion should remain separated from politics. If you compare maybe European countries to Nigeria, you will notice that there is a decline in the number of people that go to churches, because once religion is connected to politics, what we have is compulsion, whereby forcing people to do some particular things, and that is not good for religion. There should be competition, there should be freedom of religion and all that. If you look at countries where religion is not separated from politics, it's either religion is used for conflict reasons, or you see people not going to church anymore because they have to pay taxes. And it would discourage people from going to church, and they would before you know what, people won't learn the religious virtues that are very important for the society. Because let's take tithe for example. If the government says everybody should pay tithes, if it's a matter of compulsion, then it's also against the religion, because when you are doing something, you should do it out of joy, you should do it out of willingness and all that. So I think religion and politics should not be connected. Meanwhile, there might be religious bodies to check what the church is doing with the money. How are they helping the, what's it called? How are they helping the people, the church members, and all that? But not the religion.
Thank you. I would like to call in at this point. I'd like to call in Ose to come into this conversation. Hello, Ose. Can you hear me?
Hi, Mercy.
Yes. Pleased to have you join.
Glad to be here again.
You're a businessman, so I'd like to hear your take from this. Do you think churches should be responsive and responsible in societies like Nigeria?
I'll also try to answer as a politician. And so in the first instance, I heard the previous speaker talk about a separation between the state and the church or the mosque. And what you do find is that in developed countries, that separation does exist, and they pay taxes. But in Nigeria, for instance, there is an unholy marriage between religion and politics. So when campaign season comes around, for instance, if you're a serious politician, you will talk to the church and you will talk to Muslim clerics. When the state needs to speak to society, maybe to tackle security or whatever issues, we find that religious leaders are co-opted very deeply into these discussions, to try to intervene in resolving these issues. So, you know, that separation, I just want to make that clear that in Nigeria, that separation between the church, the mosque and the state doesn't really exist. Moving on to the conversation about whether religious bodies should pay tax. I also want to make it clear that the discussion isn't that members of churches should be compelled to pay tax. It's that if you have a church, for instance, where the senior pastor has 1 or 2 private jets, where he has private schools, where he sells merchandise, and he's making money as a business enterprise outside of, you know, regular church activities, away from ministering and healing and preaching, then I think it only makes sense that the religious bodies should be made to pay tax. That's my personal opinion. I don't see the reason why.
I like that. I like that you talked about education, because it's also part of the conversation that we're supposed to have today. We've seen churches, big churches, I wouldn't want to call the names, and we're saying churches more because they're the ones that are involved with most of the projects when it comes to churches, when it comes to schools, hospitals, etc., in the country. We've seen huge churches where school fees in some of these churches are not within the reach of even the middle class. And I'm sure you can correct me on this. How then would you support the argument that these churches and or these organizations owned by religious bodies, be it the mosque or the church, makes huge sums from school fees and the state should not be seen to earn from it?
Well, so I'll speak. So for instance, Christians are supposed to pay 10% tithe. You know, if you tithe as a Christian, it's 10%. In Nigeria, the VAT rate is 7.5%. So even if you were to tax a church, they would still be left with a 2.5% untaxed amount. Again, so I don't see the reason why an entity that's set up as a profit-making entity, and not just, it's not charity. You know, my kids probably are unable to attend some of the more elite church school establishments. So it doesn't make sense to me that churches make money.
You fall under the Nigerian elite. I'm going to fact check you. You fall under the Nigerian elite. So to say that your children are unable to afford some of the schools by churches is, you know.
I mean, you started this conversation by talking about a recession. So maybe 4 or 5 years ago, this statement would have been true. But Nigeria is currently the poverty capital of the world. So most Nigerians who were previous elites, we find ourselves on the pension line these days.
But also, just a final thought on that. Again, I'll go back to what Kumbi had said earlier on. The church is not supposed to be seen as, or the mosque as, you know, agencies that replace the state. So in places where, you know, they're already performing the functions of the state, like building schools, hospitals, and ensuring in some communities, they literally cater for the basic amenities for these communities. So if you are insisting that because they make so, and that, they have to pay tax, where do we call in the government? Will that be fair to churches who, you know, over the years are literally standing in for the state?
So your question is an interesting one, and it sort of has 2 threads. So the first thing is the assumption that the church is stepping in or filling the gap for a state that is falling, that is failing. And that is sort of correct. There are pockets in the country where government and governance is absent, and churches, and not just churches, I'm happy Indy's on the call, civil society actually also stepping into the gap. But civil society is accountable. Civil society is accountable to donors. Civil society is accountable to government. Civil society is accountable to the people. And churches to this point are not. So I just want to make that distinction that even if they were to step into the gap, they need to be held accountable.
So would you support your political party to push for a bill that ensures that churches and mosques are made to pay taxes? I want to hear you on record.
I am an opposition party politician. It will be difficult to maybe when we win, we'll visit that conversation.
We had power for 15 years.
It would be a very